Hello! The following screencast is actually a continuation of a previous screencast on the Middle East, but this will cover several of the countries in Africa, particularly the countries that my class will need to know for the final exam. By no means is this all the countries in Africa, just the ones that we have picked. So we're going to actually pick up for the beginning here, some of our countries. We'll continue the story of Indiana Jones. And we remember that Indiana Jones from last screencast had actually ran for safety to Saudi Arabia here. And then he had hiked all the way to Israel to see his real mummy, which was in Egypt, his mommy. So when he got to Egypt and he finally saw his mummy, she said that she thought it would make him feel better to see the pyramids. So they went to look at the pyramids, but to their surprise and shock, the pyramids had been stolen. And they were actually stolen by a guy named Dan. And so Egypt was so angry with this guy named Dan that he had stolen the pyramids and taken them to the country right below, that they decided they were going to sue Dan. So for that, we know that this is the country of Sudan. So after Egypt decides to sue Dan for taking their pyramids, the rest of Africa actually finds out, and particularly this country over here. Now, right here we have a little lake. This is actually Lake Chad, and Lake Chad is going to serve as our little eyeball here. And so there's an eyeball right here on this particular country, and this is the country of Nigeria. And we can remember that because the eyeball of Nigeria is jeering, which means to give a dirty look or stare. It's jeering at Sudan. Why? Well, because Dan had taken the pyramids of Egypt. So, as Nigeria jeers at Sudan for taking the pyramids of Egypt, we end our story of Indiana Jones. Now, we have a few more countries that we need to memorize for this particular region. So the next one we're going to memorize is right here in the middle. And because it's in the middle of Africa, we're going to use a little phrase called meet in the middle. And meeting in the middle is when two groups that generally don't agree decide to agree on something or compromise. So when you think of two groups in the United States that can rarely agree, you might think of the Democrats and the Republicans. So if the Democrats and the Republicans actually decided to meet in the middle, we would have a very happy day. In fact, we'd probably be so happy that we would celebrate by playing the congas. So to remember this country in the middle, we're going to remember that it is the Democratic Republic of Congo, or the DRC, right there in the middle. Now, if we did play the Congos, or the congas, during this exciting celebration, the neighbors around the Democratic Republic of Congo would definitely hear the ruckus. And so next to the DRC, we have a very small group of two countries. And this one country on the top, he has climbed up on top of his other small friend to see what's going on. And while he's up there, he says, "I wanna be bigger." Think of a kid who doesn't have a very good pronunciation. I wanna be bigger. And Rwanda reminds us that this small little country right here is Rwanda, the country of Rwanda. So, the Democratic Republic of Congo is a meeting in the middle, and when they do, they play the congas, which causes other countries to hear. So the little guy climbs on top of the other little guy and says, "I wanna be bigger." Now, the last two countries isn't ever anything, too clever. However, it's pretty easy to remember because this country right here on the bottom, and that's the clue on the bottom, is the furthest south. So we're going to remember that is South Africa. All right, so South Africa is the furthest south. And if by chance you wanted to drive your car to South Africa, if you wanted to drive your car to Madagascar, that would be impossible because Madagascar is an island. So you would never be able to drive your car to Madagascar because Madagascar is an island. So that's just a few little memory techniques to help you remember the countries of Africa.